Last time on Shadow Piece, Columbus had to face the final two members of the Impel Down Guards, Vice Warden Magellan and Chief Warden Hannibal. Exhausted and overwhelmed by the rage of the leader of the Impel Down fighters, she struggled to keep up and received injury after injury. She decided that Magellan was the bigger threat of the two because of his venom, so after getting knocked back far away by a trident attack, she went for a sneak attack herself. However, that got blocked by Hannibal as well. Because of that, she suffered 3 powerful attacks to the stomach by the venom-covered hands of her opponent. And just as his 4th strike was about to finish her, the Sin of Greed Olympus returned from the dimension he was locked inside and managed to take the damage instead of his right hand. The two pirates had an incredibly sweet moment before the fight continued. Columbus lost consciousness and Olympus turned around to face his enemies. He growled at both Hannibal and Magellan, but neither of them felt threatened. "Now, get ready to take on somebody your own size." He lunged forward, only to immediately get knocked back into the edge of the ship by a venom hydra from Magellan. Without the mist of Columbus, there was no way to change the density of the venom and stop the attack. The Sin may have covered his skin with haki, but this was the attack of Magellan, so it still managed to melt through the body of the fleet of Death Warrior. Olympus stood up again, bones visible in many locations. One more look at Columbus and then a war cry escaped his body. He was not ready to give up. He still had so much he wanted to learn, so much he wanted to tell the world, and most of all, so much he wanted to do together with Columbus. He rushed forward again, only to be met by a venom thrust of Hannibal straight through his guts. Olympus leaned forward, gripping the arm of Hannibal despite it still being covered in venom. "Thanks for coming. That saved me some stamina." His eye gleamed dangerously red as he raised his giant fist, darkening more and more with haki by the second, into the sky to strike down the Chief Warden. "This is not over yet, Impel Down!" First he brought down his fist straight onto Hannibal's head and made him crash into the ship's floor, but that wasn't the end of it. Still holding onto the arm of the leader of Impel Down, the Sin of Greed pulled him out of the wood again and started smacking him left and right into the ship again and again. Like a furious giant, he didn't stop the attack, even as Magellan shot more poison at him. The venom around Hannibal's body turned even more red as it got mixed with his own blood. The scholar knew who the new Chief Warden of Impel Down was, so he cursed at him. "Screw you and your garbage poison-resistant skin! You of all people should hate the world government!" The venom-covered hero didn't respond. He couldn't do so even if he wanted to. After all, he was still getting smacked around into the ground before being raised into the air again to just repeat the process over and over. At this point, he literally couldn't move. That was how much control Columbus had over him in the moment. What the member of the Fleet of Death said wasn't necessarily wrong, as Hannibal was part of a species that once lived on an island entirely covered by venom. Theories suggest that a previous user of Magellan's powers awakened their devil fruit on that island, and that was why it got covered in venom that still hasn't disappeared even after 100 years. In the process of that, the humans that once lived on the island had to adapt, and that very quickly. Their bodies changed into the form that we now could see with Hannibal, but an entire species more resistant to poison was considered dangerous. So just 60 years ago, the world government hunted them down. Hannibal was allowed to live as he became a soldier for the high security prison Impel Down. The massacre of his people wasn't something he had to witness as he is only 35 years old, but because of the voice recordings of his grandparents, the terror of the entire event was still very much known by him. Why would a person that had all of their kin killed by a faction work for said faction? Well, the answer was obvious. They told him that if he proved worthy and showed that he could be of use and not of danger, his tribe would be allowed to reform in the future. It was Hannibal's job to become a hero for his people, to return freedom to them, and as he was now the Chief Warden of Impel Down, he felt that he was closer than ever to reach that dream. Magellan shot another concentrated ray of venom at where Olympus was holding his superior, and it hit the mark perfectly. In a matter of seconds, the arm of Olympus melted away and Hannibal fell on the ground. It wasn't a shout of pain, no grimace, he just glared at Magellan. "So this is what brotherhood is worth in your heart!" He snarled a growl like a wild animal staring at prey. Until this moment, he still had held onto the idea that Magellan might still have some of the traits he used to show when he was like an older brother to Olympus, but now he just looked at him in disgust. "Betrayed your brother, betrayed the world, you even betrayed yourself." The Sin of Greed started running, ignoring the fallen Hannibal, but he wasn't running towards Magellan either. Instead, his target was elsewhere, but he didn't stop talking while running. Where did your dream go? Where did the spirit go to one day sail around the entire world? At this point, the two remaining Impel Down fighters thought they had seen through the plan of the vile pirates. His running path was going directly to where the unconscious Columbus was lying. Magellan just stared at the scene, clenching his fists and grinding his teeth before responding. Dreams change, you monster, but you still cling to the ideas your childish mind created. Don't you dare think I will let you get away. Both Hannibal and Magellan were certain that the Sin of Greed was planning to retreat. After all, pirates had no honor. Even if they belonged to an alliance, they would in the end put themselves above anyone else. And in this moment, they determined Olympus was betraying Moria and the Strawhat Pirates. Hannibal was exhausted, got back up from the ground and just looked at Magellan, a silent command. He might have wanted to finish this by himself, but even his venom-resistant skin was reaching its limit. So with his powers, the highest authority of Impel Down, he made it Magellan's job to finish this pirate. The toxic tyrant raised his arms to the sky slowly. All the venom scattered across the sinking ship returned through his body. This in turn revealed how Hannibal looked after enduring the lethal venom of his subordinate for so long. The venom peeled away like black oil, receding into the air with a hiss that made the very air feel toxic. As it left, so did the numbness. Pain flooded in like a tidal wave breaking a dam. Hannibal collapsed to his knees again, gasping for air. His skin, once slick and glistening with poison, was now raw. Angry red wells ran in streaks across his arms, chest and face, like he had been dragged through fire. Steam rose from his skin in thin wisps, where the venom had sunk deepest. Every breath felt like he was inhaling needles. Muscles twitched involuntarily, the aftershock of being soaked in death. He grit his teeth. His resistance had saved him. He knew that, but resistance wasn't immunity after all. It was a shield, not armor, and that shield had cracked. He tried to stand, but his legs screamed in protest, his joints stiff with poison burn. His vision swam, ears ringing, the world pulsing with dull heat, but at least he was alive, even if barely. His last hope was that the world government would respect his achievements and his sacrifices. At first he only joined Impel Down for his tribe, but over the years he became friends with the other soldiers. Having gone through his trial period together with Domino made her death hurt all the more. And right now he had to rely on a man he respected a lot, his role model when it came to power, Magellan. The venom device Warden collected all formed into a sphere over his head, and it kept increasing in size, the venom curling dangerously as it shifted from purple to red to finally black. When it got fired in a beam moving faster than the human eye could follow, Olympus had already reached the girl he once had rescued from a celestial dragon ship heading towards Marijois. But then, unexpectedly to the two world government soldiers, he didn't continue to run. He made no sign of wanting to move away anymore. Instead, he just picked up Columbus, hugged her tightly and said to her, "I wish there was a different solution, but I ran out of ideas." He sighed as he gave her a kiss to the forehead. "You are destined for great things, my girl. Recover and live a long life." With one last action, he threw the unconscious body of his right-hand woman, an adopted daughter, far, far away. His arm covered in haki so much it hurt even himself. His will to protect this girl was too much for his body to handle. She flew and flew until she crashed into the Thriller bark, the precise place the Sin of Greed had aimed for, the safest place in the world as it belonged to Gecko Moria. Her crash surprised the only person left on the island-sized ship, Liv. She rushed to where the noise had come from and saw the unconscious human girl that had collided into the save room of the ship, opening up a path to a treasure chest. Her eyes gleaming with excitement for the treasure. After all, Moria, her father, had told her to stay away from it. But first she poked the girl, seeing if she was still alive, which turns out she was. She really got saved. Olympus, on the other hand, stood tall. Wounds on the back of a warrior were often seen as shameful, as they were something received while running away, being scared of the opponent. But as the venom shot through his back, straight through his body, he wasn't feeling shame. Instead, he was proud. Proud to have discovered so much about the truth of the past. Proud to have become a warrior, worthy of working for a man that was sure to change the world. But most importantly, proud that he could protect his child from danger one last time before he left the world. This marked the end of the life of the Fleet of Death's Sin of Greed, the adventurer and scholar that led a 56-ship big fleet known as the Yonta Maria Grand Fleet. but the title he was the most proud of was 100% being the father of Columbus, an ambitious young girl. That was who Olympus was. With that, the Impel Down forces were the first to be successful in taking down one of the Fleet of Death's core fighters, one of the 7 sins. And this is the end of today's episode of Shadow Piece. I hope you enjoyed it. Rest in peace, Olympus. I hope you enjoyed this fight. This was the first time a member of the Fleet of Death lost. Every other time, there were still some losses, there were even some deaths, but in the end, the Fleet of Death came out victorious. But for this time, no, they lost. Impel Down was too strong. They couldn't get through Magellan and Hannibal. Even if they did defeat some of their people, in the end, they win. So, next week, we're going to enter the next battle of this arc. Let me tell you, oh boy, is it going to hold some gravity. But for now, that's all from me for today. All's left to be said is stay happy, stay healthy, and most importantly, stay cultured. Pyro, out. Bye!